Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I need to tell you about a building where over 400 people died, a building where many of those bodies were never recovered, never given proper burial, never given Catholic rites. They're still there, right now, entombed in concrete and rubble, and the building was rebuilt on top of them. People work there, shop there, walk through there every single day, walking on top of a mass grave. I'm talking about the Hyatt Terraces Plaza in Baguio City, Philippines, or what's left of it, what was built on top of the dead. And before you think this is just another ghost story, let me be clear. This is documented. The earthquake happened. The deaths are recorded. The bodies that were left behind are a matter of public record. The families of the victims still perform rituals at the site every year. This isn't folklore. This is tragedy. This is unfinished business. This is 400 souls who were never properly laid to rest. And they're angry. Let me take you back to July 16th, 1990, Monday afternoon, around 4:26 p.m. Baguio City, the summer capital of the Philippines, a popular tourist destination, cool climate, beautiful mountain views. The city was busy. It was summer. Hotels were full. Shops were packed. Life was normal. And then the ground started shaking. A 7.7 magnitude earthquake, one of the deadliest in Philippine history. The shaking lasted for about 45 seconds, but those 45 seconds changed everything. Buildings collapsed, roads cracked, landslides buried entire neighborhoods. The official death toll was over 1,600 people, but many believe the real number is much higher. One of the buildings hit hardest was the Hyatt Terraces Plaza, a 6-story commercial and residential complex. It had shops, offices, apartments, a dance school on one of the upper floors. It was a popular spot, always busy, and on that Monday afternoon, it was full of people. Workers finishing their shifts, shoppers, students at the dance school. When the earthquake hit, the building didn't just crack, it collapsed, pancaked. The upper floors fell straight down, crushing everything below. People were buried instantly, trapped under tons of concrete, steel, and rubble, screaming, calling for help. Some died immediately. Others survived for hours, days, slowly suffocating or dying from their injuries. Rescue teams worked around the clock. For weeks, they pulled out survivors in the first few days. Then bodies. So many bodies. But the building was too unstable. Parts of it were too dangerous to excavate. After a month, the government made a decision. Stop the rescue efforts. Seal off the most dangerous sections. Too many rescuers were getting hurt. Too much risk for too little chance of finding anyone alive. But there were still bodies in there. Hundreds of people, trapped, unrecovered, and the families knew it. They protested, begged the government to keep searching, to recover their loved ones, to give them proper burials. But the answer was no. Too dangerous, too expensive, too unstable. So instead, the government decided to demolish what was left of the building, bring down the unstable sections, clear the site. Eventually, they rebuilt. Not a new Hyatt. The company pulled out after the earthquake, but other developers came in, built new structures, shops, offices. The site is now occupied by several buildings. One of them is called Nevada Square, and underneath, the bodies are still there, entombed in the foundation, in the rubble that was never fully excavated. The government essentially turned the collapse site into a mass grave and built on top of it. The families were devastated. In Filipino Catholic tradition, proper burial is essential. The dead must be laid to rest with rites, with prayers, with blessings. Otherwise, their souls can't move on. They're trapped, restless, wandering, angry, and that's exactly what happened. From the moment the new buildings opened, there were problems. Businesses couldn't keep tenants. Shops would open and close within months. Security guards would quit after a single night shift. Office workers reported feeling watched, uncomfortable, cold spots in tropical heat, hearing things that shouldn't be there. Let me tell you about Rodrigo. He was a security guard hired to work the night shift at one of the buildings on the site. This was in 2018, 28 years after the earthquake. Rodrigo was a former military guy. Tough, not easily scared. He'd worked security at malls, hotels, government buildings. He'd dealt with thieves, drunks, even armed robbers. Nothing fazed him. His first night on the job, everything seemed fine, quiet, normal. He did his rounds, checked all the floors, locked doors, made sure everything was secure. Around 2 a.m., he was sitting at the security desk on the ground floor, filling out his log, and he heard music, faint, coming from above. It sounded like dance music, not modern club music, older, like ballroom music, waltz, cha-cha, the kind of music you'd hear at a dance school. Rodrigo frowned. The building was supposed to be empty. All the offices closed at 6 p.m. He checked the CCTV monitors. Nothing, no movement on any floor. But the music continued, louder now. He could hear footsteps too, light, quick, like people dancing, spinning, moving across a wooden floor. He grabbed his flashlight and went upstairs. The music was coming from the 3rd floor. He reached the floor, walked down the hallway. The music stopped. The footsteps stopped. Silence. He checked every room, every office, all locked, all empty, but he could smell something. Perfume, sweet, floral, and something else. Dust, old dust, like something that had been buried for a long time. He went back downstairs, figured maybe it was just echoes from outside, sound bouncing off the building's weird. He sat back down at the desk, and the music started again, this time louder, right above him, and he could hear voices, young voices, girls laughing, talking in Tagalog, calling out dance steps. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Rodrigo went back upstairs. This time, he wasn't gentle. He pounded on doors, shouted for whoever was in there to come out. This wasn't funny. This was trespassing. The music stopped again. But this time, as he stood in the hallway, he heard something else. A door opening, slowly, creaking. He spun around. One of the office doors, one he'd just checked, one that was locked, was open. Just a crack, darkness inside. He shined his flashlight into the room. Empty. Just desks and chairs and filing cabinets. He stepped closer, and the door slammed shut, right in his face. Hard. The impact nearly knocked him over. He tried the handle. Locked again. But he'd just seen inside. There was no one in there. No one who could have closed the door. Rodrigo left, walked straight out of the building, called his supervisor, told him he quit. The supervisor tried to convince him to stay, offered more money. Rodrigo refused. He said he'd worked a lot of places, seen a lot of things, but he'd never felt what he felt in that building. He said it felt like the building was full of people, invisible people, watching him, angry at him for being there. He wasn't going back, not for any amount of money. The company had to hire a replacement, then another replacement, then another. Security guards kept quitting. Finally, they changed policy. No more solo night shifts. Always 2 guards. Always together. Never alone. And even then, guards reported the same things. Music, Footsteps, doors opening and closing, voices, cold spots, the feeling of being watched. But it's not just the security guards. Shop owners report it too. Let me tell you about a woman named Maria. She opened a small clothing store in one of the buildings on the side in 2015. She'd saved for years to start her own business. This was her dream. She signed a lease, set up her shop, opened for business. The first week was fine. She was excited, making sales, meeting customers. But by the second week, she started noticing things. Merchandise would move overnight. She'd arrange clothes on racks in a specific way before closing. The next morning, they'd be rearranged. Different order, different rakes. She thought maybe it was her assistant, but her assistant swore she didn't touch anything. Then things started falling. Hangers would drop off racks for no reason. Shelves would collapse, even though they were properly installed. Mannequins would tip over. She'd fix them. An hour later, they'd be on the floor again. But the worst part was the mirrors. She had several full-length mirrors in the shop for customers to see how clothes looked. One afternoon, she was alone in the shop. No customers. She was folding clothes near the back, and she saw movement in one of the mirrors. She looked up. In the reflection, she saw a girl, young, maybe 16 or 17, wearing a dance costume, leotard and skirt, her hair in a bun. The girl was standing in the middle of the shop, perfectly still, staring at Maria. Maria spun around. The shop was empty. No girl. She looked back at the mirror. The girl was still there, in the reflection, not moving, just staring. Maria closed her eyes, counted to 3, opened them. The girl was gone. Maria's sales started dropping. Customers would walk in and immediately feel uncomfortable. They'd browse for a minute and leave. Some would later tell her they felt like they were intruding, like the shop didn't want them there. One customer said she saw a young girl standing in the corner. When she blinked, the girl was gone. Maria lasted 6 months. She closed the shop, lost all her investment. She told her friends it wasn't worth it. The rent was cheap, suspiciously cheap. But now she understood why. No business could survive in that building. The atmosphere was too heavy, too sad, too angry. And it's not just one building, it's the entire area. The whole footprint of the original Hyatt Terraces Plaza. Multiple structures now occupy the space, and all of them have the same problems. High turnover, businesses failing, security guards quitting, people reporting the same phenomena. Music, voices, figures in mirrors, cold spots, the feeling of being unwelcome, because the dead are still there. And they know they've been forgotten. They know they were abandoned, left to rot under concrete and commerce. No prayers, no rituals, no respect. Every year on July 16th, the families of the victims gather at the site. They perform mass, bring flowers, light candles, pray for the souls of their loved ones. Some families have been doing this for over 30 years. Mothers who lost children, children who lost parents, siblings, spouses. They come every year. They pray. They remember. They beg the souls to rest, to forgive, to be at peace. But the activity in the buildings doesn't stop. If anything, it gets worse around the anniversary, the weeks leading up to July 16th and the weeks after. Security guards report increased incidents, more sounds, more sightings, more doors opening and closing, like the souls know, like they're remembering, reliving their deaths every year. A Catholic priest who performs the annual memorial mass told me something. He said the souls at the Hyatt Terraces site are trapped, not just physically. Their bodies are literally trapped under the building, but spiritually, they died suddenly, violently, in fear and pain. Many of them weren't ready, weren't prepared, and then their bodies were left. No burial, no rites, no release. In Catholic belief, that's one of the worst things that can happen. The soul can't move on. It's anchored to the place of death, wandering, waiting, hoping someone will remember, someone will help. But what can be done? You can't demolish the buildings, excavate the site, recover the remains. It's been over 30 years. The area is commercially developed, legally complex, politically impossible. The government won't acknowledge the problem. The developers won't admit anything. The businesses can't talk about it openly because it would destroy what little commercial viability the site has. So the dead remain, and the living who work and shop there just have to deal with it. Some people don't believe. They dismiss the stories. Coincidence, imagination, psychological projection. But ask anyone who's worked there, especially the security guards, especially the people who've been there alone at night. They'll tell you. They'll tell you the building is alive, not with life, with death, with memory, with pain. And they'll tell you about the worst spot, the area that used to be the dance school. No one can pinpoint the exact location now because the building layout has changed. But there's a section, people who are sensitive to it can feel it, where the air is heavier, colder, where you hear the music most clearly, where young girls' voices echo, counting, dancing, forever rehearsing, forever trapped in that moment before the earthquake hit and the floor fell beneath their feet. I asked the priest if there's hope, if there's anything that can be done to help the souls move on. He said yes. Prayer, memory, acknowledgement. The families performing the annual rituals, that helps. It lets the dead know they're not forgotten, that they're loved, that people are trying. But the real solution would be to recover the remains, give them proper burial, bless the site, cleanse it, officially recognize it as a memorial, a sacred space, not a commercial property. But that's unlikely to happen. There's too much money involved, too many legal complications, too much time has passed, so the souls remain. Some are peaceful, quiet, accepting. Others are angry, frustrated, confused, and they manifest. They make their presence known. They slam doors. They move things. They appear in mirrors. They whisper. They dance. They remind the living that they're still there, still waiting, still hoping for release. If you ever go to Baguio City, if you ever visit the area where the Hyatt Terraces Plaza used to stand, pay attention. Notice the atmosphere. Notice how the shops seem emptier than they should be. How the security guards look tired, haunted. Notice the cold spots, the weird acoustics, the feeling of being watched. And if you can, say a prayer. For the souls who were left behind, for the families who still grieve, for the dead who are trapped between this world and the next. You don't have to be Catholic. You don't have to believe in ghosts. Just acknowledge them. Remember them. Let them know they're not forgotten, because that's all they want. To be remembered, to be mourned, to be honored. And maybe if enough people remember, if enough people acknowledge their suffering, they can finally rest. Thanks for watching. If you're from the Philippines, if you've been to Baguio, if you've experienced something at that site, share it in the comments. Let's remember together Hit subscribe for more real stories from across Asia. Stay safe out there. And remember, the dead don't forget. Don't let us forget them either.